Okay, let's get started. They say scientists have discovered a prehistoric megastructure that man didn't create. And this is it. And these are the areas of Giants Causeway and all that stuff. So let's look into this. I have some details on this. I know exactly what it is, and you will too very shortly. Okay, my friends, this is going to be fun. This is about Giants Causeway. And the story is that Finn McCool he was a giant, but he was, just a normal giant. And he had a dispute with another giant across the ocean. And he constructed this causeway. Well, that's what they say. I have a different take on it.
Way, turning our gaze to a similar marvel.
I dispute that it's accepted. It's not accepted. It's not true. I'm going to show you what is true. This is biology. This was a giant, not constructed by a giant. This was a giant. Okay, my friends, let's get right into it. Giants Causeway. What is the deal with Giants Causeway? The Giants Causeway is steeped in local myth. Now let's just hear what they have to say. Here goes.
Giants Causeway, steeped in local myth, gradually
In academia. there is another explanation which I will explain.
Turning our gaze to a similar marvel, Fingal's Cave on the Scottish island of Staffa offers a compelling parallel to the Giants Causeway. Both are characterized by strikingly similar hexagonal basalt formations, and both are steeped in connected folklore. Fingal's Cave is said to be named after the same giant linked to the causeway. This shared geology and lore have spurred theories of a possible geological bridge once connecting Ireland and Scotland, highlighting not only the shared natural wonders, but the inhabited island of Staffa is a place where geological wonder meets...
Hold on. Okay, a little glitch there, but now we're going to be getting back into these structures. Here it goes.
Its discovery by the modern world came in 1772 when Sir Joseph Banks, already famed for his voyage with Captain James Cook, explored the cave. During his tour of Scotland, he was struck by the natural architecture of the cave. Banks's vivid descriptions in his letters and journals captivated the British public and intellectuals alike, spreading its fame far and wide. His portrayal helped cement the cave's status as a natural wonder, drawing artists, writers, and eventually tourists, especially during the popular Grand Tour period in Europe. The name Fingal's Cave owes its origin to James Macpherson's literary work, which claimed to translate ancient Gaelic poetry, although it was later debated and considered largely his own creation. Nonetheless, the popularity of these poems romanticized Scottish history and added a mythical quality to the cave, linking it with the hero Fingal. This association not only named the cave, but also framed it within a narrative of heroic deeds and a mystic past, reinforcing it as a symbol of Scottish pride and identity. The cave itself is a geological marvel, formed through the cooling and solidification of lava. This process starts when a large lava flow cools uniformly, causing it to contract and...
Right, they just showed a lava flow. And the lava does flow, obviously. We can see that actually occurring. Now, what they showed was this.
Formed through the cooling and solidification of lava. This process starts when a large lava flow cools...
All right, they're saying this turned into those basalt columns. That's just not true. And my friend Tyson Carlson, Tyson's Mudfossil Adventures, is looking into lava right now, and you'll see what he's discovering. And lava is basically heated rocks so hot that they become molten and they flow. What would create them to become molten? And is there any possibility that they could come into those hexagonal patterns like that? And I say no, there is no possibility that that happened. And I will explain to you exactly what happened.
Uniformly, causing it to contract and fracture into long symmetrical columns, mostly hexagonal in cross-section. This phenomenon is not only rare but also visually stunning, contributing significantly to the cave's fame. Inside, the cave structure is grand and cathedral-like, standing about 72 feet high and stretching around 270 feet back into the cliffs. The roof arches naturally, and the floor, partially submerged, is constantly washed by seawater, enhancing the cave's eerie and mystical sounds. Moreover, Fingal's Cave is renowned for its extraordinary acoustics. The structure of the cave, combined with the rhythmic sounds of the ocean, creates a haunting soundscape that echoes against the basalt columns. This auditory feature significantly influences the cave's allure and has inspired numerous artists, playing a crucial role in the cave's artistic legacy. Through its natural beauty and the echoes of its columns, Fingal's Cave continues to be a source of fascination and inspiration, weaving together the strands of nature, myth, and art.
Okay, so let's do some weaving. Okay, my friends, I like to start right off at the beginning. What's the beginning? Well, what is Giants Causeway? Well, here it is, and you can read all about it. Not a word of it is correct. Let me show you what is correct. All right, these are a close-up of the stones that are at Giants Causeway, and they're pretty much hexagonal, but they vary in patterns, but they're pretty much this type of stones. And there's little little pieces of them, and they just come up in these huge columns. These are the kind of huge columns I'm talking about, and they're all over the place there, and they break right off in these little spots, and the people walk all over the tops of them. All right, here's a couple of guys out having a good time kayaking out at Giants Causeway. And what are they looking at? They're looking at these stones. They're everywhere, and they're not just at Giants Causeway. These are everywhere around the world. And I can tell you exactly what they are. And I will show you, these are biology. They're not just rocks, and they are absolutely not lava. Some more of the same type of stuff. All right, so I showed you these, and they come up in big, long tubes and they break off in these little sections. Now, if I said those were tendons, you'd say, Roger, you're insane. So, am I insane? Well, let's see. This is what a tendon is. You see these structures here? That's what I'm saying these people are walking around on, and this is Giants Causeway. It's one of these. Now, look at how many thousands of fibers there are in a tendon. This is the whole tendon here, and it breaks into little sections like this. There's square ones, and then they come down to the hex ones, and then they come down to the sort of hex-ish. Then they come down to sort of who knows what. And then they come down to the tiniest fibrils. And those fibrils actually lock into balls. And the balls are what the anchor is. They're called tendon entices. The entices is like a ball here on an end of every one of these fibers. So now you're going to find places that have square looking ones. You're going to find places that are just completely the outside of the tendon, and they do square up, or they harden up, but then these harden up in a different way, and they turn into squares. These harden up into hexagons, and here's what they look like when they're sitting on top. I got one here. There it is, right here. All right, what do you see? Think about what you're seeing here. You see these patterns? That square, or that little pattern here, that's probably one of these. Coming out of that is one of these, and that is what's coming out of it. All right? Further and further down, you'd get down to, or going this way, one way or the other, you're going to get to the entices, and it's probably down below. But you really can't tell, because these were creatures. This was a creature's body. That was inside of a creature's body. Case closed. So you say, Roger, you must be out of your freaking mind. I say, no, this is a tendon. This is electron microscopy. This is as far down as you can get. And they can see the little blocks in the tendons. I showed you how they form in the squares and hex and all that stuff. These are collagen fibrils. And they see the different colors? These are the different colors means there's different minerals in those, and that is really what sets up the strength of tendons. They're not all just one type of material. That's why they show them with different. There's 28 different types of collagens. Now, it appears that there is a bunch of different ones all interweaved within the tendons, even though you don't see it. You see they're showing here? They're showing this over here? Inside of that tendon is all of these tiny little, again, fibers. And they also have their little bundles in them, you see? You see what we're looking at there? That came out of this right here. That's what the tendon looks like when you get way down in there. And then over here is what is in that one little type, that little bitty tendon. A tiny little tendon is all that stuff over here. Now you see I showed you the different colors, I showed you the different blocks. This is another one. This is as deep as you can get down inside. These are tendons. And they're made to be just like really solid but flexible. That's why they have to have all these little breaks and flex so they can flex around, but it's tight, tough as hell. You can just barely move these things. Tendons just almost don't move. But, well, let me show you how the anatomical, how they attach to the bone and the muscle and so forth, and the tendon sits in between. All right, let me just explain this. It's really quite simple. You see all these little tiny balls here? Every fiber comes down and latches into one of these balls. That's the anchor that anchors this tendon to the bone. Otherwise, it'll rip right out. So all of these little tiny fibers, and there is tens of thousands of them, meet up with these balls in the bone to anchor the tendon to the bone. And these are those little tiny fibers. Now, then you get into the real tendon, which is you have them all in your body in between muscles and bones. So you get to your real tendon, which I was showing you, then you get your muscle. You got abrupt transitions here. They're not showing them really the way they are. I mean, they are abrupt. But pretty much the rest is right. The muscle attaches to the tendon, which attaches to the fibers, which the fibers attach to the little balls, which attaches to the bone. Now, this is a simplification of all of those fibers coming down, meeting with all these balls down inside, wherever it is. If it's a aponeurosis tendon, it's in the flat part of your back or so forth, your abdomen and all that, they lock in. But if it's in the bone, like the ligaments, your ligaments, your tendons attach to bones, or they attach to the flat stuff like in your back. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. This tells the difference between tendon and aponeurosis. Tendon is a rope-like stuff that goes between your muscles and your bones. Aponeurosis is sheets. And here's what they look like in your body. All right, that's a aponeurosis tendon. You see it? That locks the muscle into your back, and this is where you get pains. Trust me, I know about that. Now, then you have your regular tendon, like that wraps from here to, it goes between your muscle and your bones, up in here and over in here, like right in there. That's the type of tendon. And I don't know what tendon we got there. Then there's a whole different type of tendon in your ankle. This one here, I don't think has any of those little breaks in it. I'm pretty sure that's true. They're looking at tendons, and I think this one here doesn't have any breaks in it. In other words, I showed you the ones that have all the little blocks in them. All right, you see them here? I don't think the ones in your ankles have that. Now here's why I say some tendon does not have those little breaks, or the tendon gets to a certain point and then it starts to make these little breaks. But you see these wavy looking things? What is that all about? And they're all independent. Well, here's what it's about. This was a tendon and it was under tension. That's what tendon means, tension. They're just pulled like an elastic band. And when you snap it, they go boing, and you get this, what they call a wrinkle zone. And that's fully understood, and it happens in your Achilles tendons. You get these wrinkle zones. And I think they don't have the blocks in them, like the rest of the tendons in your body that have to move around and all this. That the Achilles tendons really don't do much of moving around at all. They stay straight with your feet. They don't have to really do a lot of this and that. And I think that's why there is no cracks in them until you get to a certain point where they just about meet the muscle. And I believe this is where the muscle met, and it broke right off, and the tendons went snap and pop back. But there'll be a point where there are going to be some blocks, because they'll have to be able to do this and that and move around and slide up and so forth. But they can slide and move, but they're just under tension. When this gets snapped, it goes boing, and you get this wrinkles on. That was an Achilles tendon, I'm almost sure. And that is exactly what happened at Devil's Tower. See this right here? This is, I believe, in Iceland. That's blood. That is actually red arterial blood leaking into an artery. You see it up here? this was an artery. These rivers and so forth, they're not just rivers and little streams. They were at one time blood supplies. And if you look, there's one place up here that shows the caves. Wherever I can find it here. Right here, look at this. That is an artery, I'm almost certain, and that's the vein. And this is the tendon, and it makes an abrupt transition right there. And that's the glue that glued it into a bone, and the bone was up above and has eroded away. And I have the same thing here in my shop, where you get the tendon. Well, here's the stone. Where is it? Here we go. See, there's the tendon. These are the little tendon stripes. You can't see it because, of course, this is just very small. And there's all that gnarly looking stuff. All that gnarly looking stuff right at the top of the tendon. Just what I just showed you a second ago, right here. The exact same thing. But this is, I believe, an artery and a vein. You're going to have blood supplies, and there's no reason for that hole to be there, and that hole to be over pretty close to it, other than these are blood supplies. And I believe, and more than likely, that's the artery, the bigger one, and that's the vein, the smaller one. All right, it's a whole new day in geology, in history, in chemistry, in biology, everything. It's a brand new day. I think I'm going to leave it at this for today, for this particular video. I'm going to show you Devil's Tower and the wrinkle zones and why I say that some tendons don't have all these little blocks. All right? Some do, some don't. And I think this may even be a spot where it's transitioning between the blocks and down into where the blocks no longer are actual blocks, they're actual straight tendons. Because there's going to be a transition zone for that too. There's a whole lot of chemistry, there's a whole lot of biology, there's a whole lot of everything going on here that we have to look into. They're not all going to be like this. And here, see that? That's that wrinkle zone at the top of this one. I'm sorry, that's the glue, like I showed you in the in this right here. That's that glue right at the top of the tendons. There's so much to look at, and then I want to show the ones that are in South America, and they used all kinds of tendon to make those walls down there. And the bumps on the walls, I can explain those too. Nobody can explain any of this stuff. You gotta understand it's all biology. Once you get to there, it's a piece of cake. But getting to the point where you realize it's biology and being able to accept it in your mind, that's a whole other issue. All right, I love you all. We're going to just continue. I'm just going to keep laying this stuff out over and over and over again until it starts to be able to talk about in the mainstream. We live on a corpse. Jesus Christ said it. Jesus Christ said, "He who discovers the earth discovers a corpse." Okay, my friends, the next video will be on Devil's Tower, and then I'm going to associate this to the things that are down in Peru and South America, Bolivia, and so forth. Don't forget the wrinkle zone I talked about. Now, I just got somebody assaulting me, saying, "Oh, you're an idiot," and so forth, and you're assaulting real scientists and so forth, and you're demeaning them and everything. And I said, no, that's not true. I am trying to get them to pay attention to what is here. They're demeaning me. It's not the other way around. I'm trying to be nice, but I'm done being nice. Now I'm going to be insulting, because they deserve to be insulted. They refuse to accept reality and force you to pay them, these academics, and then they force you to say what they tell you to say, or they fail you in life. It's not right. I'm not going to live with that. You live with it if you like it, but I'm not going to live with it, my friend. Now, I guess one final word. With all of this evidence that I am showing you, supporting everything that I am saying, biology, anatomy, chemistry, everything, even ancient texts say exactly what I'm saying. The problem is with academia. And that's not my problem. That's the problem for the whole entire world, because they won't allow me to be seen. I am totally suppressed. I'm blocked out of everywhere, but trust me, I've been blocked more than the NFL. This is reality, and it's not accepted as reality because we are dominated by academia. They have control to destroy your life, literally destroy your life if you don't say what they tell you to say. I stepped out of that realm long ago and went on my own, and thank God I did, because I'd be homeless. There's no question about that. You cannot speak up and keep your job. And that's why even the teachers and the professors, I get a lot of them saying, you're right, I wish I could say something, but I can't. I don't get a lot of them. I get a few. and they don't want to know, they don't want to be known. Let me put it that way. I had one guy say, I said, well, can I use you to say that you agree? And he said, what are you trying to do, ruin my life? And that's true. That's what happens. And that's what happened to Velikovsky. It would have happened to me, except my life was already ruined. They couldn't do too much more to me. After I started spouting off about this stuff, everybody walked away from me thinking, this guy's totally off his rocker. And I'm telling you, it was there was 4 or 5 years there, which, and even to today, this is 15 years going on. So I'm not going to apologize for anything. I have the evidence. Stand up before me. Don't just sling these little arrows here and there and just call me an idiot. Confront the evidence, my good friends. All right? That's what I want from academia. I am not going to retreat from this. And I expect you, as my friends and followers and lovers of truth, to engage with others and just say, look, this is true. Just go off on your own if you don't believe it. But you have to examine the evidence. Now, this is evidence. This is true evidence. This isn't like making up some flowery thing and just saying, you should think about this because it's some flowery thing. No, this is material evidence. That's my realm. All right, so either you think or you don't think. That's up to you. That's what's called free will. And I'm going to tell you right now, some people they're just lost, absolutely lost. No way to think on their own. None, zero. If it's not peer reviewed and everybody agrees, I'm not going to agree. And that's what's happened to society now. You have to follow everybody else that says something, or you're going to be pushed off into the street by yourself. And I'm in the street all by myself. Although I have some followers. There's not a whole lot. But there's enough. We're going to get there. The truth can't be stopped. But you have to stand up. You can't just be afraid. And people they're afraid. And I got to admit, when I first started talking about this, I knew I was going to be in trouble. And I did. I got in big trouble from everybody. I mean, literally everybody. So you can expect that, but if you want truth, that's what you're going to have to work yourself through. All right, I love you all. Bye.